Go any further, if this lights a fuel for you, I want you to do something. Subscribe. Takes 2 seconds. It's free. And it tells us what is really resonating, which guests we should book, what to go deeper in. My producer just told me that 76% of the people watching my videos are not subscribed, which means we're reaching a lot of new people that are part of my tribe. Like, you are my people. I created BigDeal for the ones who are serious about building something and don't want to be sidelined. So if that's you, I want you here every week. So hit that subscribe button. I see you and I'm so grateful for you. Now, here is the pitfall nobody warns you about. I call it the ladder trap. You climb the ladder, you get the fancy title, you get the paycheck, and then one morning you wake up and realize this ladder is leaning against the wrong damn building. I spent years on Wall Street, like Goldman Sachs, State Street, First Trust, years. I was really good at it. That's the worst part. When you're good at something you don't love, the golden handcuffs get tighter. My time was tied to a clock of a person I didn't even like. My income to somebody else's decision. I was making money for people that I didn't actually want to make more money for. And I had this like sickening realization that the most smart people I've ever met at some point said, I either want to be able to grow more here or I want to stop being your product. And like everyone around me was fine with it. You know, the paycheck was big enough to keep my friends, my family comfortable, to never leave. But here's what I learned in Juarez that applies directly to you. The most dangerous prison is the one where you don't know you're locked up and you do it to yourself. Right now, there's something in your life that you know you need to do. Like, you need to take the risk. You need to ask for the big thing. You need to move a tiny step forward that feels like a giant jump. I know, because I did it too. I left Wall Street after I had bought a lot of laundromats. One of the most prestigious financial institutions on the planet, Goldman Sachs, Vanguard. And instead, I want to go work at a place where people wash their underwear. Like, they're gonna laugh at you. And that's the thing I want you to realize. The laugh is the win. When nobody believes, that's when you know you're actually doing something interesting. You want to know what loneliness sounds like? It sounds like the silence from people who used to cheer for you. I remember my family at the time said replacing Goldman Sachs with Codie Sanchez was a huge mistake. The Wall Street friends I used to have, gone, right? The invites dried up. The calls stopped. Nobody says it to your face. They just disappear. And the few who do say something, it's always dressed up as concern, you know? Like, are you sure about this? That seems a little risky. You've had such a good thing going. Is the grass always greener? Translation is, I don't understand what you're doing, so it has to be wrong. And I want you to think about that again and again and again, because I cannot remember one transition in my life where somebody cheered me on and told me to do it. And you know, what's funny about this is I think today, everybody's telling you, go be your own boss, go be an entrepreneur. It'll be great, they said, right? Then you get the company like, fuck me. What did I sign up for? And actually, I'm going to like have a lot of years of not making a lot of money and not doing this. That is true. You don't have to go burn the bridges to have a comeback story. You just need to go work on something you're really passionate about. You need to go turn the thing that you do every day into something you are passionate about. You need to figure out how to play the game of money and business and do it right now where you are. Like, I think a lot about how much less money I would have made if I had started 15 years earlier, which is like not very popular to say. Like, I talk so much shit about old bosses and old companies, but the truth of the matter is I learned so much on somebody else's dime. So every time they dissuade you, it's okay. Maybe you're not ready yet. Keep that in your back pocket for later. I was just talking outside to a guy whose name is Brian that I used to work with at a company called First Trust. And when I left that company, he was one of the few people that said, go do it. You're going to crush it at this. Go do it. You're not going to regret this for a minute. And when he saw me today, 10 years later, after that, maybe even 12 years later, he said, look at you, you're actually doing it. But you know what? I looked back at him and said, I remember every piece of advice you gave me. Because let me tell you what, lots of people were dissuading me, but there will be a few people in your lives that are gonna make you believe that you are capable of doing something bigger. And I repeated back to him 3 pieces of advice that he gave me. He told me that you never sell anybody anything. You only find people who are predisposed to already want what you're selling. And if somebody hasn't already done the action you want them to do, don't ever assume they're going to do that action. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And I repeated it back to him and he looked shocked. Why? Because I remember my haters just as much as I remember the people that cheered me on and gave me great advice. So yeah, it's fine. Let them dissuade you, but also remember all the people around you that think it's possible for you. That laundromat cost me $100,000 and it made me $67,000 a year. That's a pretty damn good cash on cash return. Do you know how many hedge fund managers would sell their Patagonia vests for a 67% cash on cash return? A lot of them. But nobody saw it because it wasn't shiny. It wasn't tech. It wasn't a unicorn. It was a laundromat. And I bought a few more and I rolled them up into a portfolio and then I sold it. But this thing that I did back in the day is not that different from the thing that you have inside of you. And it doesn't mean you have to go do something entrepreneurial. I was talking the other day about, think about this for a second. Bain is a big consulting company, one of the biggest in the world, worth billions of dollars. One of the top, it was started by a single dude who just gave advice. That's literally how Bain Consulting started. I give advice, people pay me for advice, I do it again and again, I build a big company. Then he wanted to invest in companies. So he said to his friend Mitt, by the way, this is Mitt Romney, who used to run for president. Hey, Mitt, you want to go run Bain Capital for us? So one of his employees, his best employee that was a savage and a stud and he kept pouring into, he goes, you want to go run this thing? If it doesn't work out, come back. You can have your old job. You'll still make tons of money. But in the meantime, go run this thing. And now I walk past Mitt Romney's $80 million house on the beach in California often, and I chuckle thinking about the fact that there are all these people on the internet who tell you, you can't make a ton of money as an employee. Bullshit. Bullshit. Mitt Romney makes more than 99.9% of entrepreneurs ever will, maybe in their entire lifetime. And so nobody should doubt you. You just are probably doubting you. Where are you not trying to get bigger in what you're doing right now? You don't have to leave to have a comeback story. You can just say, hey, trust me to go build this thing over here. I'm going to do it. You're going to bankroll it. Why don't we have more of that energy? Hey, I'm so good in your company. Actually, there's a chick I hired. And she's amazing. And I remember she first said to me, she's like, I want to buy a business. And I said, well, first you got to do the job because I don't want you distracted. And she goes, oh, don't worry about that. I'm going to be so valuable here that eventually I'm going to buy a business and you're not going to care anything that I do because I'm just going to be such a stud at this company. And I was like, that's the energy. Because here's the thing. Most people will doubt you and they won't come back and apologize. They don't call and say I was wrong. They just get quiet. And then later they ask how you did it. This is the part of the comeback nobody prepares you for, which is the loneliness of the middle. The part where you've left the old thing, but you haven't proven the new thing, where your conviction is all you've got. And I want to tell you something about that space, that uncomfortable, uncertain, everyone thinks you're crazy space. That's where everything gets built. It's not on the mountaintop. It's not at the finish line. It's in the ugly middle. That's where everything gets made. And what is made then is crucial. Owning your business, owning your platform, owning your attention. You can have the best ideas in the world, but if nobody hears them, you're just talking to yourself. That's actually the same lesson I learned when I started my newsletter business. That's how this entire company got started, is on a platform just like Beehive, building my very first newsletter that turned into multiple 9 figures. And that's why I publish my newsletters on Beehive today. Beehive makes it real simple. You write, you own your audience, you get paid. No algorithms or gatekeepers, just direct line to you. Beehive gives you growth tools that compound referrals, recommendations, built-in monetization, ads, subscriptions from day one. It is the one platform where you actually own your own list. And here's the number that matters. Newsletters published via Beehive grow 2.75% faster than the ones published on other platforms. So you want leverage? That's it. If you're in the messy middle right now, building, posting, grinding, and it still feels like you're starting from zero every day, go to beehive.com/Codie. Use code Codie30 for 30% off your first 3 months. That's beehive.com/Codie and use code Codie30 for 30% off your first 3 months. Spelled BEEHIIV. The idea is simple. In 3 months, you build once and you own it forever. Here's my philosophy on this. You buy boring, you build quietly. Let me tell you what I figured out that most people never will. The wealthiest people in the world, they are not building apps. They're not on magazine covers. They're not pitching VCs. They own boring businesses that print money. One woman built a roofing company into $1 billion enterprise. That's Diane Hendricks. I actually want to have her on the podcast. She's a total stud. A garbage man became the wealthiest person in the state and in the country at the time. That was Wayne Huizenga. Not fairy tales. That's public record. But, why does everybody tell you out there to go chase the next shiny thing, to go try to be viral, to chase, somebody else's definition of success? I think the cynics get to be right and the optimists get to be rich. It totally rewired my brain. because cynics are right most of the time. Most businesses fail. Most ideas don't work. Most people give up. Yeah, they're right. But they're wrong 100% because the only thing that matters is the one that works for you. My first several deals were not home runs. One of my first deals, I lost a couple hundred K. One of my other deals, once I had more money, I lost millions. I had a guy who stole $25 million from one of our companies and had not one but multiple mistresses, which I find impressive because he was also married with kids plus running a company at a time in some way. Like, I've had really hard setbacks, but each one I had people telling me, I told you so. And they were right that day, but not forever. The difference between me and the person who quit, I kept buying the next one. So if you keep doing this, mine was acquiring assets that produce cash flow. Yours may be just having some failures, but they get absorbed by the winners. I think, let me say this plainly, you don't need to be right every time. You need to stay in the game long enough to be right once in a really big way. Then all of your wrongs get wiped away. Now I look at a guy like Chamath Palihapitiya, who was like getting ridiculed on the internet for SPACs and bad investments. And I remember asking him at the time, I'm like, Chamath, dang, it's tough out there. You doing okay? And he was like, I love the attention. He's like, just watch me. I'm going to keep swinging and I'm going to win over the long term. Now look at the guy. He's done like 2 of the biggest and best transactions you could say in the last decade in investing. And so like these days I own, a big holding company at Contrarian Thinking, all of these companies that sort of make money while everyone else is refreshing their stock portfolio. And that's what Contrarian Thinking, our company, actually means. It's not about being different for the sake of being different. It's seeing what everyone else ignores and asking why. Why does everybody believe that you have to do business this way? Why does everyone want to be a tech founder when the plumber down the street is clearing $500,000? Like, these are the core ideas that led me to creating Main Street Millionaire Live, where my team and I teach you how to buy, operate, and grow profitable, boring businesses. I do not believe that you have to go to a tech startup to make millions in fact, I think that's a terrible idea. So we built something that's a tactical straight shooter boot camp where in 3 days you learn how to find the right small business to buy, incorporate AI into your business on day one, and do what I did, like buy that first laundromat that changed my life and set me on the path to ownership. I don't think there's another stock as reliable as a business that pays you every week. And, if you think that same way that I do, like, I want you at Main Street Millionaire Live. You can hit the link and I'd love to see you there because I don't think business ownership is about having a big title. I think it is about, if you don't have ownership, it will be the most expensive thing you'll never own. That's the key to freedom. But I want to get personal with this idea about like the fire inside of you need. You're going to use everything you've got to win. The comeback's going to be longer than you think. It's going to be harder than you thought, and you're going to want to give up at many points. I grew up watching my parents work themselves raw. Like, my mom was a 30-year special education teacher. My dad built things with his hands. He was a carpenter. He owned granite and marble quarries. I used to watch him saw it with him and his brother, install it. He worked in roofing. He was in a slaughterhouse. He had a work ethic that, like, I can't even imagine. And then I went to one of the most dangerous places on earth at 20-something years old in Juarez. And I saw what happens to people who don't have any options. They were trafficked. They were brutally murdered in the desert because they had no economic power. And that changed something in me permanently. I hope it does the same to you. So when someone tells me money isn't that important, or money's the root of all evil, or it's not about the money, I know they've never been in a place where they didn't really have it. Because you guys tell me in the comments, what's it like when you don't have money? What's it like when a rich person says, well, it's not really about the money? You're like, yeah, let me fucking find out. Let me get some of that, and then I'll figure it out. Because the truth about money is it's freedom, it's safety, and it's a protection of your life. I think it's the sword of the 21st century. And I want to arm as many people as possible. Like, you don't need followers. You need it because when you have nothing, you can have anything happen to you because you have no leverage. And I think the gap between those two things is not knowledge. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's typically, what are you willing to do? What is the game you are choosing to play? What is the voice inside your head telling you when other people say you're not capable of it? That is the real question. And it's the only part that actually matters. We're not trying to create followers here. I'm trying, you and me, to have a conversation about, why are you still stuck before the comeback even starts? When are you going to be the story other people tell about the person who had it hard, who was the victim, who was struggling, and then won? And if that sounds too dramatic, I don't know, good. It should. Because staying broke when you don't have to be, that ain't it. Working for a job you hate for 40 years and calling it responsible, that's a tragedy. Change happens when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of making change. I left the golden handcuffs because they hurt more than the uncertainty. I bought the first business when the fear of staying was worse than the fear of failing. You have that inflection point right now in your life, the place where you're staying comfortable, and that's the most dangerous thing you can do. I think you should treat your comeback personally. Like, your comeback isn't going to look like mine. It shouldn't. Yours might start in a cubicle and go through a franchise or a side hustle or a conversation you've been avoiding for 3 years or becoming a corporate exec and making so much money it makes other people uncomfortable or building a huge business with partners, raising a bunch of capital, doing something that someone told you never could do. Someone else decided what you were before you could show them who you are, and you're going to still carry that right now as you listen to this? No. You can carry it, but only if you use it. The weight isn't holding you down. That's your training wheels. Like that colleague who called me a secretary, I'll remember that. The family who said I was making a mistake, fuel. The Wall Street friends who disappeared, fuel. Every single thing that's risky and are you sure, fuel. You don't beat them by arguing. You don't beat them by proving them wrong to their face. You cast a shadow so big that nobody can see them to begin with. You outgrow them. You outbuild them. You outlast them. And here's the thing. You don't even have to be the smartest person in the room to do it. You just have to be the one who doesn't quit and the one who buys the business when the last one didn't work out for you. The one who makes the call when the last 5 people hung up on you and yelled in your face. The one who gets up tomorrow and does the boring work that nobody posts about on Instagram. Because I found that all the big things, they start small. My quote unquote empire started with one laundromat and everybody laughing. Now it's a mission to free 1 million people. So what's your laundromat? What's the boring, unsexy, nobody understands it first step that you keep talking yourself out of? So stop talking. This is your chance to stop planning your escape. Stop waiting for permission. The comeback is personal, and it always was. The only person who gets to decide when it starts is you. So go buy something. Go make it extraordinary. Go do something huge. And I want you to tell me next week, what are you doing to change your life? Because that comeback story can be way bigger than you could ever imagine. God, who gets this is Michael Jordan. In fact, there was like famous lore about him that you didn't talk shit to Michael, because if you did, that man amped up. And they only realized this because Michael would sometimes have a game where he was chilling, he was a little bit slower. Then somebody would talk a little shit to Michael. And Michael would go on to win the game, beat all former records, and annihilate that human. So famously, one of his coaches said the worst thing you could ever do to Michael was tell him he couldn't do something. And if you wanted him to do it, it'd be better if you told him that to his face. That's what I'm talking about. The other goat at this, Dana White. Dana White famously says, I am an incredible friend, but I am an even more dangerous enemy. And I love this line because Dana had time after time after time where people came after him. And he kept saying, no, there's no way I'm giving up. In fact, when he supported, whether you like the guy or not, one president, all these sponsors threatened to shut him down. He just doubled down on it and said, no, I'm going all in. I don't care what you guys think about me. Famously, when Theo Von came on Dana White's podcast, or I guess the other way, when Dana White came on Theo Von's podcast, Theo Von told him a story about how, I believe it was Peloton, the bike company, had promised Theo to do a couple of things, didn't end up following through on it, and talked about some really bad stuff publicly that Dana didn't agree with. So what did Dana do? He said, are you serious? Is this true? He goes, somebody Google this, find out if this is true. This is true. He goes, take all the bikes out of all the UFC that are Peloton, throw them in the trash, tell them we're never buying a Peloton again, tell them we're never allowing any sponsorships from them again. He just went ham. Theo Von was like, cool. And I love that because that is you taking a side. The man was like, are you serious? They said that? And I'm kind of keeping some of the details out of it because who cares if you agree with the detail or not? You get to choose your side. You get to have your comeback. Sylvester Stallone, the guy was unhinged. I mean, talk about a comeback story. He was so broke. He had like $30 on him. He was going through a really hard time with his wife. But he was so convinced that he wanted to be not only a famous actor, but he wanted to be in Hollywood at a level of the game that nobody else could imagine. He had written Rocky, and he got it in front of a couple of producers at a studio. And the lore goes that Stallone had about $30 left. His wife was about to leave him. They offered him thousands of dollars, maybe tens of thousands of dollars, which could have changed his life back then, and some of the rights to the film. And they were going to make his movie. This is a man who went to hundreds of casting calls. They all told him no. They said, well, who's going to listen to you with that weird voice you've got and that beat up face? No chance. So he gets his movie in front of like the major movie execs. But then he says, I want to play the role. I want to play Rocky. And they're like, no way. This guy, you're going to be the lead? Have you seen your face? And he turned it down. So he went back home, told his wife that he turned it down. She left him. He kept going, kept pitching it to other people. It was him, his dog, and like a couple bucks. He got to such a low point that he stood outside of a little market gas station and he sold his dog for the couple of dollars that he needed to keep going. He sold his best friend, the person that he said, the thing that he said he loved most in the world, the last thing he had. He sold his dog for like $50 or something. Then he goes and he sells the rights to the movie, but for like pennies on the dollar. I don't know. Let's say a couple $1,000s, and sells it to the studio for a couple $1,000. But he gets to be the lead. And he's like, yes, I got it. What does he immediately do? He goes back and stands outside the gas station, waiting for the guy to come back with his dog. Not there, day after day after day after day. He's crying. He's beaten up. What is he doing? He sold his dog. What kind of sick human does that? He hates himself. One day the guy comes with the dog. He's like, I got my money back. I'm good. I want my dog back. The guy's like, no, this is my dog. He's like, no, I want the dog back. Here's $50. No. Here's $100. No. Here's $200. Here's every single penny I just got for my movie advance to get the dog back. Sylvester Stallone does it, except the guy asks for one other thing. He says he wants to be in the movie and take all of his money. So the guy that he sold his dog to is in the movie. And also, Sylvester Stallone believed in himself so hard that role catapulted himself for the rest of his life. Can you imagine the things that you go to achieve the life that you want? Love that story.
Going on Shark Tank absolutely changed my life.
Hi, Sharks. I'm Allison Ellsworth.
I'm the first person to have gotten a deal to be a shark ever.
That is wild. How do you build a $1 billion brand? What is the formula?
I always say there's like 3 things. One is...
Allison Ellsworth built a modern soda empire from scratch.
From local farmers markets to a Shark Tank deal.
Perhaps the most successful soft drink startups that America has ever seen.
Poppy has over 3 billion views on TikTok. 1/3 of the platform has seen my face 7 times. Poppy was the fastest growing beverage in the history of beverage, basically.
I didn't know that.
As a brand, if you are not on TikTok, posting multiple times a day, guess what that costs you is your time.
Have you ever had a really big disagreement or something go really sideways?
There was literally screaming, fighting, but I think that it brings good resolution to have those moments. I love the good and the bad.
I know.
Our mission at Poppy is to revolutionize soda for the next generation. I want it to be the soda my kids and grandkids know as soda. And the only way to do that is to get it into more hands.
So what does it take to sell a company to Pepsi for like $1.95 billion?
Yeah, so especially in beverage, there's literally 3 people that can buy you, or you can go public. And
hi, and welcome back to the Big Deal Podcast. I'm Codie Sanchez. In this episode, Allison Ellsworth breaks down the exact playbook she used to turn skeptics into superfans and land one of the biggest beverage deals in years with her company, Poppy. And she didn't do it by luck. She did it with a lot of hustle and one secret, which was a guy on Shark Tank who helped her take all the homework he'd had over decades and apply it to her business. She credits him and a few others with the reason why Poppy is now worth $1.95 billion. We're actually trying to do the same thing here at the Big Deal Podcast. Steal some of the best and brightest homework so that you guys can have mentors just like she did. If you've ever learned something on this podcast or you want us to be your mentors, subscribe on YouTube or Spotify. You are a big deal to us, and we want to make you a big deal. Let's start with Shark Tank No real background in this. Definitely not a $2 billion company at that time. What was that like as a young woman?
Yes. I watched every episode before I went on, and I wanted a deal, right? I think some people go on and they kind of just want to be on TV.
Yeah, or get the marketing or something.
Get the marketing. And then on top of that, I was 9 months pregnant, literally had the baby 2 weeks after.
Holy hell.
Yeah. But I always was like, oh, this will make great TV if I go in labor on national TV.
Spoken like a real entrepreneur. She's like, this would be perfect.
Might go viral. But it was interesting. So got a deal, absolutely changed our life. I think it's amazing. And then, being the first person to have gotten a deal to then be a shark and sitting on both sides and seeing both sides of the curtain, I guess, was really cool. And
so who did your deal and how much money did they give you?
Yeah. So we did our deal back in 2018. It was with Rohan Oza. It was $400,000 for 20%.
Oh my God, deal of a lifetime for this guy.
It is. Yeah.
Dilutive at least?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we had 100% of the company at that time.
Okay.
So, but that was okay. Like, you go on Shark Tank to make a deal. They're sharks. It is what it is. It's like, what you're getting into.
Yeah. And at that time, kind of a crazy idea. You're like, the thing is soda. They're like, what? Like, it's not an easy business.
No, it was worse back then.
What
it was
it?
apple cider vinegar drink. Which is like,
is
what?
worse.
Who wants to invest in that? But we were called Mother Beverage before we were Poppy, and we did the whole rebrand. So not only was I like, hey, by the way, we have no branding. We just have a liquid that tastes good and a good story. And he just kind of like saw the vision. And I think a lot of stuff I'm investing a lot now that I see, and the number one thing I invest in is the founder. Yeah. And I really think that he just saw that and we just hit it off right away.
Everybody says that it's about the founder, but then you try to explain it. Like, how can you tell if a founder is going to make it or not?
So most founders don't like being told what to do, right? They're doing things different. They're paving their own path. And so when you go to a founder where I've been in their shoes, and I'm not here to like take your money, I genuinely have a little bit of more sympathy for that. And I can relate to a founder that has vision, but is willing to take help. Because there's nothing worse than trying to work with someone that thinks they know everything. Like, even in business, you don't want to hire an employee like that. That kind of a person's annoying. And a lot of founders have big egos. I had a big ego when I first started and had to learn how to work with people and in the same sandbox. And so for me, when I'm talking to someone, I'll do a little bit of a test sometimes. I'll be like, hey, for your packaging, it's so cute. I love it. But would you be willing to change it? And I try to see their reaction, even if I don't want to change it. And some people will be like, wait, I spent so much money. I worked so hard. And they start like backtracking on why they don't want to change it versus I could be open to that discussion, and they're like open, but you also don't want a founder that just is willy-nilly and will change. So you almost like, it's like a gut feeling too, a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I think also, for that, I want the founder that's like, why are we changing it? And you're like, well, I think you could sell more if you did X and Y and Z. And the founder's like, okay, you think given your $2 billion plus access to Pepsi, if we changed the branding, we could get here and here instead of there. I'm like, yeah, it's like, do you want to be right or do you want to win?
Exactly.
So let's find the winners.
100%.
I love that. Okay. You know what's wild about you? You actually started in oil and gas research before you started this company, right? So what does that even mean for somebody listening?
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to make money. And you can make really good money in oil and gas. So I went on the road for 7 years, working in teeny little towns. I worked in the courthouse where I would do the research on ancestry and trying to figure out who owns the mineral rights. And on top of it, then you track them down and you negotiate with them in the city and the local government and the Bureau of Land Management. Like, it's really complicated, but so what it really taught me was going out, getting to know people, their family, and how you can use that in business and it's not so transactional, which I think is really amazing, is like relationship building. And then dealing with government is not easy, right? To get things done. And so I think it was really well-rounded business, almost like better than college, right?
Oh yeah, I think the best business school is being in business. Shocking.
Literally.
But And you probably got a lot of rejection, I imagine. I mean, I've heard stories about people trying to go buy land rights or mineral rights on somebody's land, and they get like chased off with a shotgun.
Yep.
Like, I bet, did you ever have instances where you were chased off land with a shotgun?
There's a lot of ranchers out there that do not want you on there. They're used to people coming and sniffing around. I mean, there's times where I couldn't get a hold of people and I would send them a pizza with like on the top of the pizza. I'd go to like literally Domino's and write like a note and be like, I promise you, I'm like, just take a phone call with me. And then there's a lot of like backstabbing as well, where like the aunt finds out and tries to cut out the uncle and the sister, and like you're playing a little bit of therapy, I guess, with the families. But I mean, like, once again, those learned experiences. It was really fun, but I'll be honest, it's not fun being on the road. And so I finally got to the point where I was like, I wanted to start a family. I loved it. I loved the money, but it just wasn't worth it anymore. And I was just discovered this new path.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like an episode of Landman.
Literally. Yeah.
Did it help that you were cute and female?
I was the only female at the majority of everything. And I do think it gave a little bit of a softer side to it. And I was from Texas, and my dad grew up in Montana. And like I wasn't necessarily quote unquote a city girl, but I was. Let's be real, I was.
But you threw a y'all in there where appropriate.
Yes.
I love that. So you go from naturally oil and gas straight to production of, I don't know, apple cider vinegar soda water, which is not so normal.
No.
What happened? Why did you do that? And did people tell you were crazy?
Yeah. So I started it because I had a lot of health issues. My stomach was hurt. My skin was breaking out. I was allergic to so many different like makeups and fragrances. And I just started Googling ways to just like heal my body through food. Yeah. I never really had been into reading nutritional labels. I didn't even really know what half of the things that were bad or good for you were. Because, you go to college and then you kind of get out and you're just like, you just don't care about your wellness. I think that, look, there's a huge movement now. This was 10 years ago.
Yeah, we were Taco Bell Cheeto girls. I get it.
I love Taco Bell.
I know, me too.
And I started just eating healthier. I went gluten-free. I started working out. I started really trying multivitamins, just like natural things that you're like, oh yeah, no, I guess I can't say no shit.
You can say it all.
But it's one of those things I was like, okay. And apple cider vinegar just kept sticking out. I would drink it every day and it just made me feel better. But it wasn't sustainable. Have you ever taken a shot before?
Yeah, it's awful.
It's awful.
It's awful.
And you're like, I know this is probably something that's good, but I don't really want to do it. It's not sustainable. And so that's when I went to the kitchen. And I love to cook. It's a huge hobby of mine. I would spend as much time in the kitchen if I could. And I just made something that made it taste better. And then all of a sudden people are like, hey, this isn't that bad. The majority of people that told me I was crazy was my family. And it's so funny because I always say you want to surround yourself around people that like lift you up. But let's be real, being like, hey guys, I'm going to quit our job. I'm not going back on the road. I'm going to start selling this like vinegar tonic, basically. I definitely get why they thought I was crazy. But I did have my brother-in-law, like I brought it home to Thanksgiving one year. My brother-in-law got really excited. He was like tasting them. And my dad was like, hey, why don't you sell your hooch? Like this, so like they were like cutesy about it. Like, we love what you're doing. And then really where it took off was when we did actually start selling it. And we took it to the local farmer's market and it just kept selling out week after week. And then my husband finally was like, oh, wait, we have a business. This isn't such a hobby anymore. And then of course we've worked on the formula and ever since to make it improved and better, but still some of our original flavors are like raspberry rose and ginger lime that we still have today.
I like the raspberry rose. I tried that
So
one.
good.
I haven't tried this one before, but I'm going to try it today. I was wondering, in the early days, it's so hard starting a company. It can be so lonely and challenging and you run out of money. And then even if you're growing like crazy, then you got to fund the growth. Did you ever do any wild, unhinged things to grow Poppy?
So in the early days, we launched Poppy March of 2020, literally the first week of COVID. And so all of the traditional marketing plays went out the window. You couldn't do in real life events. You couldn't really do a lot in grocery store. Everyone was more concerned with getting toilet paper, right? And so most, especially in food and bev, you don't really go omni-channel from day one, where you kind of pick maybe D2C or Amazon, and then you focus on retail and it ramps up. Well, for us, we were kind of forced to really go digital first sooner. So we went Amazon 100%.
Which
and
is
then
not
built.
normal, right?
It's not normal because it's very capital intensive.
Yeah, it's super. And that's omni-channel, meaning multiple channels that you could sell through. So like Whole Foods and Amazon and, farmers markets even, whatever. And then it's so expensive because of the shipping costs.
We're shipping literally water, if you think about it, like liquid and beverages. And then on top to support both channels marketing wise and people wise. Like it's a whole other beast. So when we were going on TikTok in the first early days, no brands were on there. Everyone's like, those are just young kids dancing. And I was like, no, there was like so many people on this platform and no one was talking to them. But you couldn't kind of approach it the same way as Instagram, where it's like high gloss. I mean, there wasn't even Reels back then, which sounds so crazy if you really think about it.
Yeah.
And really there was YouTube, but long form is very hard, that type of content. And so I personally started just spending my nights and weekends and going on TikTok and just being as unhinged as possible. I was dancing, I was doing transitions, I was doing recipes.
Oh my God, we got to find these.
Like OG, I mean, looking back at like the music, you just like in your head, those songs, right? Like Savage and like all of that stuff from the OG days. Yeah. And it just absolutely went viral and blew up. And some people, what I like to get across is it was really unhinged and weird for that time, but a lot of founders don't even think to do it nowadays, which is wild. As a brand, if you are not on TikTok, posting multiple times a day, guess what that costs you is your time. And the ability to go viral can happen. And so I'm just like, it does sound unhinged, but still some brands are like, I don't know, which is weird.
It's hard to be comfortable being cringe, isn't it?
Correct.
Like, were there ever, so if you're talking to a young founder and they're like, I'm too nervous to start. I'm anxious. Nobody's going to like me. What if they make fun of me on the internet? What do you tell somebody to get over that?
Get over it. I'll be like, do you want to win? Do you want to be successful? Do you want people to learn about your brand? Then who cares? Like, who cares? Like, you've already taken this big step to be an entrepreneur and put everything on the line for something that you love. And that I'm asking you to do is spend 2 minutes and film a TikTok. Like, get over yourself. And like, if you don't want to do it, I get that. Some people are scared. Hire someone. It's literally a resume now or a job description to hire someone to run your TikTok. And it's okay. I always tell people it's okay if you freak out and you're like, I don't want them to be the face of my brand. It's okay. Like, the internet moves really quick. If that person decides to move on or you want to promote them, they move into another position and someone else, the internet doesn't care. It's
so true. It moves so fast.
It moves so fast. And just put some stats behind TikTok. Poppy has over 3 billion views on TikTok. 1/3 of the platform has seen my face 7 times. So like, it is like bananas how much we've gone hard within the paid and the organic piece of it. And then another really big unlock that not a lot of people talk about anymore, really on the marketing side, is linear TV. You might think, oh,
what does that mean?
So there's streaming, there's cable, there's like big format TV, right? So a lot of people, Hulu, and watch on Hulu or YouTube or like different channels, but like we do traditional TV as well. So the Grammys or The Bachelor, like we'll do ads in actual TV, which now most people stream it on Hulu as well. So it's kind of like, to your point, a little bit muddy, if that makes sense. But a lot of people look at TV as what only big brands do, and you can start testing streaming. But our goal at Poppy was always brand awareness. We are not a performance marketing company. And from day one, we never looked at an ROI. We are not a traditional D2C company either. So we are 100% Amazon. So we don't actually own our customer data, but we found a way to make it work. So all of our ads go to our website. So we still capture the data of our consumer, and then it actually checks out on Amazon on our website.
Whoa.
So it's very different. So like with the iOS update, with all of that stuff that everyone freaked out with a couple years ago, it just didn't affect us because wasn't built into our marketing model. So it's always been brand awareness, brand awareness, brand awareness. And so TV was a really big unlock. We've done 2 Super Bowl ads, tripled our awareness overnight with that. Now we're into year 5. Brand awareness, like 50% of America knows Poppy. We're 1 in 4 households. So now we got to maybe change it up a little. brand, like a lot of people know us. So now we're just now starting to like look at, okay, how do we do more mid-funnel ads and kind of start moving people down? But for the first 5 years was not a focus.
That is wild.
And so I think that's just, it's really hard to get that through to people, is to build your brand, build your story before you scale.
You've built now a multi-billion-dollar brand, $1.95 billion acquisition by Pepsi.
Yeah.
How do you build a billion-dollar brand? What is the formula?
One is you have to have a good product. You have to. I'm sorry, like people can say marketing and this, but no, we have a fantastic product that people love. Second thing is we are a culture first, creator first, community first, digital first brand. And then we have an incredible team. And a lot of people don't put a lot of weight onto having a high performing, strategic, incredible team. So we always say we have great people, process, and platform inside Poppy. So they see all this like cool stuff that we're doing, but we have a engine behind us with our team that a lot of people are slow to hire. When you're growing, Poppy was the fastest growing beverage in the history of beverage, basically.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's just, we were growing so fast. So even people that were working for us had been in the food and bev for like 30 years. And they were like, I've never seen anything like this. Even Rohan, right? So it was a lot of learning together, building our own playbook and doing things differently. And you have to have a really collaborative team to be uncomfortable to do that.
How do you tell if somebody is a high performer or not and a good fit for your team?
Culturally at Poppy, one key thing we always found with like hiring people is at first we'd be like, resume, it's amazing. Look at all of your experience. No, it is hard work. And not like long hours, like burnout hard work, but just hard worker. You show up, you're engaged, and you know what? We can teach people stuff, but I will take a hard worker that's willing to learn and like really go getter over someone that has 20 years of experience. And then I think if you can find someone that can do both, like we always call that's a unicorn. Yeah. Someone that has like crazy experience, willing to do stuff disruptively, and like a hard worker, like it's really hard to find.
So if we had to rapid fire and you had to choose between IQ versus curiosity.
Oh, curiosity.
Creativity versus academic background.
Creativity.
Great resume versus willing to be up early, stay late.
Early, stay late, street smarts.
Wild, huh? Because I think everybody thinks the opposite. They're like, they went to Harvard, must be easy. I always joke about, we got to wash the Harvard off you. Because you got told you were too smart. Good.
I was a C student in college, and I built my business to be a $2 billion business, right? Not alone, with my team, but to your point, I'm like street smarts, I'm creative, I think different, and it's such a good recipe, though. You do have to pair it. Like, you got to have some data.
You need some nerds.
You need a good finance team. You need a good operations team. So, I think it's just to be disruptive. You need that. And then if you can find a way to pair it with some traditional, it's pretty special.
What do you think about business plans? Should every founder have one?
I used to hate them. I used to hate agendas and AOPs and planning. And then once we got to the point where we went through a full year of planning, I was like, oh, wait, that is kind of fun. And I never thought I would say that, especially for me, because I think you don't like change as an entrepreneur. But when you start planning stuff for 2026 now, and we're doing like cool launches and innovation, we know what we're doing next summer, you can really do some really disruptive things. So something that we do at Poppy is we 80% plan, and then we leave 20% for crazy or unplanned. And I'll give you an example. We knew we were going to run linear TV. We tested a piece of creative in November of, I think it was 23. It did really well. We put it at the Bachelor of the Grammys, some big premium placement. And the creative was just so good. It was anthemic. It was putting our stake in the ground that we are soda for the next generation. And I was like, this is a Super Bowl. The whole board was like, this is a Super Bowl ad. Well, we couldn't find a Super Bowl. It was sold out. I finally found one like the Wednesday before the Super Bowl. We ended up buying the Super Bowl ad like the week of the Super Bowl. Oh. So like we knew we had something good. We knew we were doing TV, our creative, we filmed it, we had production, it was amazing. But like Super Bowl was not in the plan. And that's an expensive gamble, right? Yeah. But that's how we just like were very optimistic, and we could just like grab something that was a cultural moment. It was good. We just knew in our guts. And it's hard for big businesses to do that. And I feel like still to this day, we're doing that at Poppy, even within the Pepsi system.
What does a Super Bowl ad cost you?
You can Google it. I'm not supposed to say.
Oh yeah, that tracks. You're actually not allowed to, right?
Yeah,
Contractually.
you're not supposed to say literally, but it's all just ChatGPT it.
Yeah, it's probably a lot. And it's all over the internet. But you didn't hear it here. Well, just kidding. We'll link it. I'll find that shit out for you.
Exactly. You say it, not me.
Yeah, exactly. David, find it out. And then tell me when you find it. Buying a Main Street business can change your life. Instead of starting from scratch, you can acquire a company that already has customers, cash flow, and a team in place. But here's the catch. Most people can't afford to pay cash for a business. That's where smart financing comes in. And let me tell you, this is where the game changes. Why spend years grinding from zero when you could skip the guesswork, acquire businesses that are already profitable, and scale them up? With SoFi's small business loan marketplace, you can get connected with SBA providers and other financing options to get the capital you need. That's the leverage, baby. There's no hit to your credit score just for searching in the SoFi marketplace. And if you're approved, you can have funding in your account as soon as the same day you're approved, which is wild, right? It's not about chasing the unicorn. It's about real cash flow, proven systems, and loyal customers from day one. And that's what Owner Nation is all about. So if you're in, head to sofi.com/Codie and see what's possible. Okay, so how about this? Is it true that you raised $50 million for your company or something like that?
It's a lot more.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, obviously by now.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is about, so you've raised more than $50 million for your company. We'll leave it at that. There's so many people listening that like, they have what I call a first wallet problem, which is like they almost can't think beyond their wallet. So they're like, I have $1,000, so I could only start a company with $1,000. And I think there are a lot of limiting beliefs people have about getting other people's money. One, they think that sounds scammy. Like, how could you get other people's money? What do you mean? Two, it's like, oh, that's only for rich people. Three, it's like, well, I don't know that I could do it because I've never given somebody money. So how could somebody else? It's all these first wallet problems. How do you pitch someone to get them to give you your money, their money?
You know, I think it's a few things. You actually have to have a business plan. A lot of people do not want to invest in an idea. And you have to also know where that money is going. There's nothing more that irks me when someone says, I want you to invest in my brand. I'm like, what are you going to use it for? And they can't answer that question. Yeah. You know, look, I'm open to all sorts of things. I've had people say, I want to clean up my cap table. I want to invest it in marketing and people and headcount. POs coming in. Look, there's not necessarily a wrong answer. You just kind of need to know. And then once you like dig in, you want to do your DD on the due diligence, but like you actually have to like know what you're talking about, know the numbers. And that was a big thing going on being a shark this time that I learned. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that came in and they didn't know where their money was. And I'm like, you're going to go on a national TV show and not know where the $700,000 lives on your P&L? Like, know your stuff. And if you don't know it, hire someone, do a fractional, like be scrappy, figure it out. And I think if you can do that and you can sell, then comes the dream, sell the dream, but you kind of have to, unfortunately, have a business plan.
Yeah. So what did it sound like when you first pitched Poppy and you got people to invest in you? What was your pitch? Did you have a 30-seconder?
Yeah. So, hey, sharks. No. We had done about $500,000 in revenue. We were a different company called Mother Beverage, like I said. And we just had a great story. I was very passionate about it. We actually had some traction. We had some sales, right? It wasn't something that wasn't. We also were already in Whole Foods. So originally in the early days, we had Whole Foods come by our booth and they were like, you guys need to be in Whole Foods. And that was really an aha moment too of you have a business. So we had a retailer. We were going into Sprouts on top of it. So we kind of like, we were like a real business. We were a little baby business. So I think I have a lot of people that DM me now and they want a lot of my time. And it's tough because I don't have so much time and I have 3 children at home and I'm working on other projects and doing different things. And there's nothing, once again, that irks me more is someone saying, hey, I have an idea. I would love to jump on a call with you. And I'll be like, is that all? like you want me to build your business for you? Like you want me to just tell you, like, you know what I mean? It's tough out there.
But I think it's actually good that you say that because so many people are like PC nonsense on here and they just want everybody to feel like they're nice and not tell them the truth. And people who are trying to build it, they need the truth. Like, hey, you will not get an investor to take you seriously like that. Don't waste my time because that will not lead to you getting more money. So I think it's actually really good that people say this, especially women and big women founders, because sometimes we're too nice.
I know.
You know, and it's
a problem.
Yeah, you probably weren't always that nice when you were growing. You were like, I don't have time for this or this or this because I got to do. what needs to be done in the business.
Your life is so ingrained when you have business and kids and you're grinding, and then you get to the point where they feel like, well, you don't have time for me. It's like, I don't have time for myself. Right. And so it's not personal, it's business, and it affects people. For me, my family's incredible. They're one of the biggest supporters. I would not have survived my pop years without my husband. We're very blessed in that. But to your point, the friend thing's hard, and I have so much love for him, but it's really hard.
You work with your husband. I do too. So hats off to you. I'm a big fan of like family business. I don't know who talked us out of the idea that family business was always bad, but how important is your partner to you? Like, how important is it the person that you choose as your husband or your spouse?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more important than they say, like, you get into marriage with business leaders or investors and stuff. But if you don't have like that core, I don't know, like healthy marriage at home, like if your home life's a mess, then like you're not going to show up right and be able to be successful. And it's interesting because me and my husband started this together. I get all the recognition for Poppy, right? And so to even have a strong man to allow to live in that situation, I will say, you know, we've talked about it, and he's like, yeah, it'd be nice if I had more recognition, but like we're having success and we're building something that's going to last for generations. Like it's a true partnership, and we know we're working towards the same goal has been really core to our success. But I'll be honest, now that we're on the other side of it, and we're doing kind of like our own thing, this is the first time ever we haven't worked together like day in, day out. And so it's been an interesting, like, how do we do this? Like, where are you going? How, like, I usually like am sitting next to him in the office or doing something. So it's like a whole new wave. And it's actually kind of fun, exciting. We're finding hobbies. It's like this whole new world of what I think probably marriage should have been, not like so crazy, like every date night at Poppy. So I just think it's so important. And then to find someone that lifts you up and like understands your values, because I am a very successful woman, and a lot that can bother a lot of men, right? And he's just supported me through that. I don't know, would you say you guys have similar values?
Yeah. I mean, I think I got lucky. He's a former Navy SEAL. So he never really cared that much about money. He was like, we weren't even playing the same game. There was no competition between the two of us because he really cared about service. That's still really important to him.
Yes.
He cares about like, really, am I doing something that matters? That's super important to him. He needs to feel like needed and respected. And I like the game of business. So I was like, no, I want to build something big. And like, who cares if they respect me? I want to do, you know. And so the two of us together, I think that worked well. But if it wasn't for him, I do think it would have been really hard to build alone.
I wouldn't be, like Poppy would not be here today if like we hadn't done it together. Hands down, I could not have done it alone. It's just, yeah, it's tough. And that's why we say, like, it might not be your husband in business, but having a co-founder is special. And even if they're not a co-founder, just like the first two employees, like whatever it is, that community keeps you sane.
Buddy system. I like it. Do you think that you can become a really successful billion-dollar CEO and still have all the same friends, do all the same things you did previously, have work-life balance? Is that possible?
No. You know, and I think people need to hear that. And I think people also need to hear it's okay if you're a workaholic, if you love it. I think women get that a lot too, is like, well, why don't you want to be home more and do all this and like have a spa day and do those things? It's like, because I would rather be at work. And that's okay. It's when it's burnt out, you don't like it and you don't love it, you should take a break and you should take care of yourself. That's not what I'm saying. But there's this stigma of you should have balance, but like, I don't want balance. I thrive in chaos. I'm obsessed without balance, right? And that's okay. And I don't think a lot of people talk about that. It's as long as you're mentally okay. I'm not saying don't take care of yourself. I don't know. How do you act with that type of thing?
The same. Somebody at my trainer this morning asked me, like, what are your hobbies? I was like, that's funny. Hobbies? Yeah. I don't have time for hobbies right now. Yeah. I got a hobby and it's called the business. Yeah. And I hobby it all day from like 6 to 9, you know, like that's about what we do.
And you love it.
And I'm thrilled. Yeah. I wouldn't do it if I mean, there are parts of every day I don't like, if I'm super honest. Yeah, there's at least some part of every day that I'm like, fuck my life, this is really hard. But there's more of the day that I really like. And so I can't imagine doing anything else. And I find it totally uninteresting, if I'm honest.
Yeah. So that means you still love it.
Yeah.
Because now I'm on the other side where we've transitioned to advisors on Poppy. I'm still heavily involved in the creative and marketing, but I picked up golf and I'm obsessed. But
That's a 180.
It's a 180, but it's almost like I'm taking lessons 3 times a week. And it's a hobby I can do with my husband, which we've never had hobbies together because Poppy was our hobby to your point. So it's interesting now being on the other side, but I'm almost just as intense with this and like want to get it perfect. It's not like, let's go play golf.
You're breaking golf clubs.
Everything I do. Yeah, everything I do is a little bit intense.
Yeah, I like that. You know what else I think is really interesting about you? It seems like you never gave up your feminine look, your long hair, great makeup. Do you think that women need to change the way they look to be taken seriously?
You know, it's interesting. Look, I've always loved to be a girly girl. I grew up like dancing and with makeup, and it's so funny. I just never thought I had to change, I guess, to your point. I don't think so. I think especially now within tech and beverage and CPG, like showing up even in sweatpants, like I'm okay with that if my employees are at work in sweatpants. Because like, who cares? If they're working and they're performing, let them be them. There's many a time I've gone to a board meeting in sweatpants or in a suit, right? It's like however I felt that day, that was like my personality. And I'm seeing that shift, honestly, in the business world, maybe not like in the banking world and finance. That's when I go to like New York and everybody from Goldman to JP to, you're just like, you guys, put the suit away.
Dude, I fell into that too. I cut my hair super short when I started in banking, and I have really thick hair, so I just look like a mushroom. I mean, it was horrifying for everybody involved.
Yeah, put a picture up on the, no.
It's probably out there somewhere. But I think I really felt like this is what a businesswoman looks like. And now I'm not so sure that being attractive is not actually really an unfair advantage too.
Right.
And being feminine is actually kind of an unfair advantage because not a lot of billion-dollar CPG founders look like you.
You should do you. And it's what I feel comfortable in. You know what I mean? Like totally. I like it. Yeah. And it's the beauty of being a founder too. You can kind of do whatever the fuck you want.
The best part.
Literally the best part.
Is it also true, I was reading, I don't know, on your website or somewhere, that you got Post Malone, Hailey Bieber, Kylie Jenner, Billie Eilish, Russell Westbrook, I actually don't know who that is, J-Lo, Olivia Munn, to either invest or partner with you?
So it's interesting. Yes and no. So we are what we call is like celebrities' favorite soda, culture's favorite soda, college's favorite soda. Like we are really ingrained into like culture, music, lifestyle. We're really good at that. And so we have a really big motto at Poppy is we have unlimited samples. We send out 300,000 packages a year, like crazy amount of samples. Like that number is probably even higher now. And so our secret to success was keeping all of these celebrities stocked up. And I would say for 2 years, we stocked up Kylie, Jenner, Stassi, her friend, all this stuff. And then it organically showed up one day in her TikToks. And it just organically started becoming part of their lives. Same thing with like Hailey. We stocked with no, like, we didn't ever ask for them to post, do anything. And then it organically, she got papped with it all over LA, right? So I think a lot of people are like, well, they don't want to invest in that because they don't see the ROI. It's a longer burn ROI on it. And it's just like hoping and praying. Now, someone like J-Lo, love J-Lo, found out she was a big fan. We reached out. We did end up working with her. And then with Post Malone, same. He was like on a couple of podcasts just talking about how he had to give up soda because it was so bad for him. And I found out it was because he had discovered Poppy. So we organically did a partnership with them. So it's this thing where it's like a combination where we show up. I mean, like Pedro Pascal is like papped with Poppy. Like it's crazy. It's just so, it still like blows my mind every day.
That is out of control. I mean, he is like sort of the it guy now too. So does this mean that you go hang out with all of them?
I wish. I will say I've become good friends with Olivia Munn. She was like one of our OG. Her. She's the sweetie. She has kids. We have kids around the same age. And she was like one of our first. She is best friends with Rohan's right hand, Stevie, and they became friends. And she invested really early, like one of the first. And she was such a good partner. She posted us. She got papped with it. She organically just like loved it. And so, you know, when you get like a good partnership like that, you do kind of get close to them, which is fun.
Yeah. Well, you're in the kind of the trenches of business together, which is tough. What does get papped mean? Does that mean paparazzi? Yeah. I'm so not cool. That's so funny. How about, let's talk about the other side. Like, have you ever had a really big disagreement or investor meeting or something go really sideways in your meeting? My dad calls them like your head in the hands in the middle of the night, no idea what to do next moments.
You know, I think it's so funny. There's a lot of that, and I wish I would have journaled, I swear, where there was literally screaming, fighting, not knowing. But I think that it brings good resolution to have those moments. And, you know, one that I can kind of think of is our cans are actually direct printed, right? So they look like a regular can, they're printed. But when you start out in the early days, you do sleeved cans.
Oh, yeah.
And they're very expensive, but they're really pretty and they pop on the shelf, right? And so there was a while where we were like fighting over, should we move to direct print because it might not be colorful? It was like this whole thing. We didn't make time for it. It was like, so like, it was just like dramatic. And then we finally made the switch and it saved us like $17 million that year.
Whoa.
Like, because the sleeve cans are more expensive. So there's certain things where like, that was dumb. We should have done that earlier. The conflict got us there. It was like this whole thing. And then it finally made us a priority as the money pushed it over the edge. So there's stuff like that, but I can't think of like a drag down. I'm sure there's a lot of them. Don't get me wrong, but I love the good and the bad.
I know. Yeah. It's funny. When I wrote my book, I have a guy I worked with, my editor, Charlie, who's amazing. If you ever write one, you should work with him. But he was really funny. He's like, you know what I've realized about a lot of founders? You guys have like a weird reverse amnesia.
It's so true.
And you do not actually, I literally was like, Charlie, I know that there's been times where I've been stolen from, lied to, cheated,
Yeah.
I literally cannot remember. So he would have to prime me with all of these, which maybe is like childbirth or something. They say
it's
you can't
100%.
remember.
Yeah. I was literally going to liken it to that. It's, you have it and you're like, I'll never do that again. And then you find yourself pregnant in a year. But I'm like, I don't know if I could do it again. But it's the same thing where people are like, are you going to start another company? I'm like, I absolutely could do it again. And they're like, but you just came off that and it's you just get the bug.
Yeah.
And it's so fun. And if you're having fun, like I said, then
you keep going. So what does it take to sell a company to Pepsi for like $1.95 billion? How does that even start happening?
Yeah, so especially in beverage, there's literally 3 people that can buy you or you can go public. And the reason why you do want to partner with a strategic, in this case, it was Pepsi for us, is like our mission at Poppy is to revolutionize soda for the next generation. I want it to be the soda my kids and grandkids know as soda. And the only way to do that is to get it into more hands. And the best people that can do that is Pepsi. Through distribution. I mean, they have iconic branding, systems in place, leadership, like so many good things that you can gain value on going into a system like that. And another example is like college campuses. They own all the big contracts on all of them. Yeah. We could not actually be sold on the college campuses. We're the official soda of the Lakers. We could not be sold in the stadium. Right. And so it's these things these big unlocks that you have. So for us, it was always a goal. Yeah. From Shark Tank to end goal is to hopefully get on to like Pepsi's truck, right? The American dream, right? And so for us, it was kind of like always a goal. And then you just start dating, right? So we had been talking to them for a while. You kind of have meetings, you go back and forth. And then we just had like a gangbusters growth. We had triple-digit growth year over year. And it's at one point too where you can get too big, where people don't want to acquire you. And we were just like, we're kind of in this interesting sweet spot. We had been talking to them and they just seemed like it was just the right timing. You almost like don't know because you're like, is it too soon? Is it too late? But they ended up giving us such an incredible offer. And then they guaranteed all of our employees could stay on and they could keep Poppy. And so we're like this subsidiary still within the system, but we're still running as like the Poppy engine. And so for me, it was like kind of check. And so between, us as founders and the board and the senior leadership, we all just like, in our guts felt like it was the right time. Yeah. And it was like cohesive. We all felt it. Nobody was like, no, because if one person's off, there's doubt and it casts doubt. And so we were like, if we all feel good, then this is probably the right time.
How long do you think you had to start talking to people about this acquisition before it went through? I mean, did you have a strategy about that? Were you like, hey, I want to build these relationships so one day when we need it, we're already going to be warm?
Well, the good news with Rohan, our shark, he had just been in beverage for a long time. He had sold multiple companies. He had great relationships. Our CEO, Chris, had been in beverage for 30 years, had great relationships. So that goes to the piece of like, yes, we had a great story with me and Steven, our founders, but we also had a great like team around us to help guide us through that. And it was so fun to like go through it. Now I'm like, oh man, I want to do that again.
I think there are a lot of people listening, and we've realized one thing in particular lately, David and I, that a lot of people don't know how to communicate with authority. Like they would not know how to stand up in the room with Pepsi and express what they want, or even how to come on a podcast and be taken seriously. I'm curious for you, do you think there are mechanisms to be taken more seriously in the way that you speak, maybe especially as a female CEO?
Well, for me, it's always been a little bit harder as a woman to be taken serious in a room full of men, right? Especially in beverage. I'm the only female founder of an exit of this size ever, right? And so especially in beverage, it's like a heavily male-dominated thing. But the one thing I will say is the team embraced my vision and crazy versus pushed it away. And so I'm very blessed with that because I've heard absolute horror stories. I've heard stories of people being like, they want me to change my clothes. I can't have fun anymore. I was just like, you started this company for a reason. Believe in yourself. And so I always just tell myself that anytime I'm going in somewhere into a big meeting, it's like, I did this. None of them started a company. They've gotten behind us in this, but I did this and I deserve to be here versus as a female in the room, I can't. No, I'm not putting myself into that box. And I once again goes back to support system. My husband is always my biggest cheerleader and he was obviously in a lot of those meetings as well. And so it's like a little bit comforting to have like your team and your cheerleaders behind you. But I was challenged a lot through the years. And I've even had other people say, you've changed the way I lead because I thought it had to be a different way and you showed me different. So it's like growth on both ends. Do you ever remember somebody in particular saying to you, like, you're not going to make it? No chance. It goes back to probably that amnesia. If they did, I'd probably blocked it out.
Like, whatever, bitch, scoreboard.
Literally, like I'm a forever optimist. You can tell me, and look, I've cried. My ego's been hurt over the years. I've been in a room where people don't understand my value. And that's honestly harder, is when people don't recognize your value when you're doing amazing things and they're bringing you down because you're shining. That's honestly a harder place to be when people are trying to bring you down because they don't understand your value than the other. But I do think it's ever evolving. You get really thick skin as an entrepreneur, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah. Now I kind of giggle.
Yeah.
I'm like, put that other chip on the shoulder there. Got a few of them, light them up,
And, I think a lot of people don't get help as entrepreneurs. So yes, I know people talk about like mental health and therapy, but what's more successful for me was a business coach.
Yeah. That's a great, I totally agree. Like tactical as opposed to let's go back to your trauma when you were 2.
Exactly. And it was like, okay, here's your problem. How are we going to win? And it's such a better mindset for me as an entrepreneur, to your point. And then looking back on my childhood, I was like, I forgot about that. Like I'm on to the next. I always say like, reach out, find someone that can help you, get a business coach, talk to people, build on that. And like, it's okay to get help too. Half the time, a lot of people think you have to hold it in and do it all yourself. Sometimes it's hard to stop because it's go, go, go.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Our annual event, MSOW's, come out. This event just hits different. It sells out every year. It is in person. There's a couple hundred of us that all get together. So make sure you get your ticket now if you want to. What is this event about? Well, if you want to hang out with like billionaires, if you want to hang out with millionaires, but also plumbers and secret agents, and also some of the biggest names in government and policy today, you're going to want to be here. Let me tell you some of my favorite little comments about this event. My friend Sam Parr says, this event is legit. We had a spy, a billionaire, and a hedge fund manager hanging out with a plumber. What? Another one, Nick Huber said, honestly, it's too good. You need to raise the price to this thing. No, I will not, Nick. Pace says, whatever you do, don't come if you don't want to meet Navy SEALs, buy businesses, make more money, or hang out with fellow psychopath owners. MSOW's is my favorite event because we break things down live. We do workshops to figure out business buying, but we're also going to hear from like I don't know, if you're into billionaires like Joe Lonsdale, maybe you want to hear from like a special surprise guest I can't even tell you about. And you also want to hear like, how do you buy your first garbage truck and turn it into $1 million a year? That's Spencer who will teach you that. Anyway, tickets are out right now. You're going to want to get them. It's in Austin, Texas. It is going to be so legit. I can't wait to meet all of you guys there. All right, see you at MSOWs. Oh, it stands for Main Street Over Wall Street, by the way. It's not like sows or cows or anything. It's about Main Street Over Wall Street. Dates, November 2nd through 4th. And just so you know, due to personal reasons, we're going to be turning it up a fucking notch this year. What would you tell somebody who's in a room where they're not being valued or respected? How do you flip the switch on that?
Okay, one of the hardest things to do is to walk away and let them figure it out without you. So in that moment, it is not going to serve you to be angry, to lash out, to speak your mind because they're not listening to you already in the first place. So something that was a really hard lesson that I've had to learn in my career is, okay, well, if you don't love my value, then do it yourself. One of two things are going to happen. They're going to succeed without you. And if it's your business, in the end, that's a good thing, right? That means you were probably holding on. Or two, they're going to understand that value and ask you to come back and help. But they're like you getting angry, you freaking out, making a scene, letting your ego get in the way. Now, there's also opportunity later on to have a one-on-one and have a conversation outside the room. If it really is bothering you and something was said and you're like, that was really disrespectful, don't do it in the front of everyone. Have a one-on-one, because then half the time they'll probably realize it, have a normal conversation, and it'll get fixed. But a lot of people want to like school someone in person. It's like, that's not a good look either.
Yeah. So what does that sound like? So afterwards, if you feel like you've been disrespected and you want to circle around and have a conversation to fix that, what do you say?
I mean, you're literally, be real. Tell them how you feel, in a respectful, kind, calm thing, right? Like, hey, you literally shot down my idea in front of the entire team. I would really appreciate if you didn't do that, because half of the stuff that we're doing in this brainstorm, for example, is throwing crazy ideas out. And that's part of this process. And you doing that undermined me in front of the team. It also, you can see it on people's faces when they don't see your value, like the teammates. Like I've had people say stuff and you can sign to see them like it's uncomfortable. Yeah. And so, hey, let's just, work on that. And like, how do you feel about it? Right? Like hear their side of it too. So I think people don't like conflict. They don't like talking about things. And honestly, if you're going to be a good leader and a business man or woman, you have to be able to hit conflict as it happens, not 2 weeks later because it manifests.
So true. Like focus less on exactly what you say and just go say the thing. Mm-hmm. And then you'll get more used to it. And those repetitions will lead to like better rhyming as you continue to get reps.
Yeah. And I think with value, it's so funny because you usually move through stages of you're angry, you're sad, and then to me, then you need to move to building to fix it, right? So it's like a normal emotion people go through. And it's like, okay, now I always want to kind of get to that third stage really quick. I'm like, okay, you pissed me off. You hurt my feelings, but now how are we going to fix it and like go to problem solving? Yeah. It's really hard for people to do that though, to get into that space, because staying in that angry and hurt phase, sometimes it feels better.
And it's very easy to just go around and sort of continue to tell that story to everybody too. Guess what happened to me? I'm a victim. I totally get that. What about, do you use different self-talk? Like, do you say words to yourself like, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm this? What does the voice in your head sound like as a $1 billion founder?
I'm tired. I'm tired. I have 3 boys. I have a problem. I don't say no to anything. Oh. And I don't take time for myself to just do anything. So for me, it's mostly I'm tired, but it's always I can do it. And I rarely say I don't get anxiety like hardcore. I'm sure I probably do, but it's not, everyone has it, right? Yeah. So I'm not saying I'm not, but I do wish I could sleep better. I was tired. Like you're just going to be tired. Like I don't know how to explain it. And so like even tonight I'm like, I'm going to go home. I want to watch a movie and go to bed at 9. It was a long week. And then
Sounds
tomorrow
great.
I'll wake up and be like, wow, I feel so much better.
I know, 100%. Yeah, well, one of my favorite mentors said, do you want to give up or do you just need a nap? And I was like, I need a fucking nap. You're right. I'm
Literally.
sorry. That's such good advice. Yeah.
Sleep is a beautiful thing that can just make you feel better. And it's so crazy. It's so simple. But I love it when people are like, give me the recipe to that. And I'm just like, get some sleep.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, I was at church the other weekend and the pastor had such a good saying, he was like, sometimes it's really hard. They're kind of these young guys. They're here. It's called Red Rocks. Have you ever heard of it?
No. We go to Austin Ridge Bible.
Oh, okay. I've gone there too, which I love also.
Yeah.
I like this Red Rocks crew because it's in a movie theater, a converted movie theater.
Ooh,
they're like
interesting.
4, maybe sub 33-year-old guys, super young families. And they're just building a church for the first time ever. You're watching them do it live. And I love something about like that young hustle. I just like respect
so
the hell
good.
out of it. So anyway, sometimes I go. I went to church that day, and he said this line that was so good. He's like, well, there's the guy who's sort of the head pastor, then this one that was speaking. And he's like, it's hard. So sometimes, even though we have this big mission and I have all this faith, I want to give up. And he's like, so I'll, there's been many a night where I've called the head pastor and said, you know what? I just can't do this anymore. I'm sorry, I quit. And his response is so good. And he's had to say it to me a few times, which is, no problem. Quit tonight. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
That is so good.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, it's like just get some sleep.
Just get some sleep, come back. And so I'm totally going to use that because I do think sometimes we talk ourselves into all of the work nonstop and we think about how hard something will be instead of how great it'll be when we hit it. And that's really an easy way to talk yourself out of all the things you want in life.
And time will really help. If something's like really hard, to your point, like put it aside, give it some time and then revisit it. And it usually isn't as hard.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
It's so true. So what about if you had to pick sort of, you're looking at all these new young yous potentially at Shark Tank, and you're looking across their skill set and you're like, all right, I know that the best entrepreneurs, they need 3 skills. Like what are the top 3 skills that every good entrepreneur needs?
I mean, hustle, of course. Willing to learn, grow, and partner. So it's that collaboration. And then doing it, at least at the beginning, that they love the passion. Because I know you said like passion needs to turn into profit, but if someone is starting a business to get rich, it's to me not the best recipe for success. So you need to have that passion for whatever you're doing for those nights you want to quit, because you'll probably get into a situation where you want to quit. And if you're just doing it for the money, you'll probably quit.
Yeah, it's a good point. Do you think you could be just as passionate about any business now that you've run Poppy? Like, are you just passionate about the game of business, or are you passionate about soda?
I wish I didn't know as much as I know now. Right? Because back then I had no fear. I didn't know anything about beverage. I mean, beverage is a beast. You're literally shipping water. Yeah. And it's a very capital intensive category. So for me, it's like, yes, if I'm looking at it, right, beauty has really great high margins. Supplements have high margins, right? Something I know I won't want to do is run a D2C company because they usually cap out about 250 million. I know all these things. So then my head, when I'm thinking about what I'm going to do next, I'm like going through check. Whereas before I didn't know any of that. And so yes, but now with the knowledge, I think passion is almost key, because I don't want to, I don't, it doesn't sound bad. I don't need the money.
Yeah. No, it doesn't sound bad
anymore.
At all, girl. You earned that.
I mean, look, I love to make money. I want to continue to grow. I want to do a business. It's those things, but it's like, I need to find something I'm passionate about to then willing of my time, right? Because I sacrificed 10 years of my life. It turned out incredible for Poppy. And you wouldn't even call it sacrifice, but I worked hard. So it has to be special. And the founder has to be right. And then, or I want to do it myself again.
Yeah. Do you think you will eventually do another one?
I think so. It's pretty new and I'm still pretty invested in Poppy and my time. And, I really want to see the success and it be successful in the Pepsi system. So it's hard. I haven't quite let go of that. And I think once I finally get it to where my baby's at college and it's good and she's moved in and she's like working on her own, I think that it will be, but I do think I have another one in me.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually pretty wild how fast that thing has grown with how young you are too.
I know.
Like that is definitely not normal. What about, was it hard to take away complete control of Poppy? Like, did you have a moment where you're like, God, I shouldn't have done that, or I need to go on an ayahuasca retreat or something in order to get comfortable with this? It's
really hard because something, I made a choice early on to put my face attached. So I'm the face of Poppy is me. I am Poppy. Like, I'm very attached to the brand, where some people will have a very successful business and not a lot of people know who the founder is, right? I'm very public facing. So I'm very connected to it. So it's almost like, what do I do now? And I will say that has been a little bit hard. And it's like you don't sell your house and then keep a key and tell them where to put the curtains and the couches, right?
True.
So it's definitely a growth period that I'm going through. And even in the past, like for example, it was me and my husband. We knew pretty early on we didn't know everything. And it was that ego piece of, it was really hard, but we brought in expertise. I was running the marketing. I stepped down from running the marketing and just moved over to just run the creative. And we brought in a traditional CMO. There was like times along the way that we kind of let go control slowly during the steps. So then when it was this time, it was just, it felt good, but it's still hard.
Yeah.
It's only human.
Do you have any secrets to hiring great execs or leaders? Like, what have you realized? Obviously, you know what your top performers look like, but how could you tell like this person versus that person could be in charge of the entire marketing of your business? That's a big role.
I think culture is a huge piece. So
do you do anything weird to check if they are a culture fit? Do you make them like pound poppies or what it like? No?
I know, right? Like,
yeah.
I read, like people always like, did you give them homework? I'm like, yeah, you can give someone homework, but it still isn't like a culture, like personality, the working values. So we had like 3 values at Poppy. Is like, do you keep it real? Can you have real conversation? Can you do something really creative and disruptive? And then are you collaborative? And then obviously the hard working on top of it. But for me, the creative piece was really big. So someone might say in finance, like, how are you creative in finance? I was like, our finance team was potentially the most creative because to make sure we didn't go out of stock and like keeping the wheels on the bus and raising like that, you have to be very creative to really scale a business as quickly as we scaled, right? Same with the ops team and the sales team and, you know, all of these things. So when I speak to creativity, it's not just on the marketing side, which I think is really important. I hate to say this, but stealing from other companies.
Yeah, totally.
Like where you are networking and you're seeing someone else balling out and like them being, you're like, I need that person.
100%.
Because, you know, there are instances where people are on the market and they're looking and like a business went out of business, you know, like, but food and bev is very small community of people that really know what they're doing and you kind of know them all.
No, I think you got to go hunt your top talent.
You gotta
I
hunt.
wish you didn't, but every single one of my top performers, we have stalked and then eventually bothered enough to where they decided to say yes.
I'm glad you're saying the same thing.
Like, I wish your answer was different. You're like, it's just this website.
But you know what? It's different for lower level. Like
100%.
You know what I mean? I was really big on pulling from other verticals like beauty and fashion and young. And at one point we were like 65% female at Poppy because it was like part of our DNA from senior leadership down. And we found like hiring women was really good. We found like certain like fun little hacky things, but we were very young, hired young, like very Gen Z forward. And it's like, those are the people that understand the culture, especially like on the marketing and creative side.
Yeah. The creative thing is actually really, really like clever. Like, what did you say exactly? You said like, what was the second value at Poppy about creativity?
So we keep it real. We are creative disruptors and we do it better together.
Yeah. So you were saying like, when have you creatively disrupted something would be is that one of the questions you would like, how could you tell if they were a creative?
Totally. Exactly. And it's so funny. It's the simplest thing. Also, I'm like, what brands do you think are cool and creative and doing something disruptive right now? Yeah. And if they can't name a single one or they say like, no offense, Gap just did that really cool campaign. So I can't even say Gap right now, but like ASICS or something, you know? And I'm like,
you're like, Costco's killing it. You're like, what? Okay.
Yeah. You know, it's something like that. So you can really read a lot when people don't understand, but then it does a finance person or an ops person need to do that, right? But you'll be a better culture fit if you can actually, like my daughter's obsessed with. It doesn't have to be something you're obsessed with. Be like, so-and-so, right? Like understanding like that piece was really interesting. And then like, it's the network piece of, you know, and the best people are the best people. And then Poppy people wanted to work there. Yeah. So we would put an application up and we would get like 10,000, 20,000 applications. It was very overwhelming. So we brought recruiting in-house. Yep. You know, we have, I think 2 to 3 full-time recruiters, depending on the vertical. And then the one piece that's really hard to recruit for is the creative side.
Yeah, it's so hard.
It's really hard because most people get into like creative worlds, like a graphic designer or creative directors, and they want to be creative. They don't want to manage people. And do you really want them managing people, right? And so you once again have to find those unicorns that can do both. And I feel like we have a killer team that can do both, but it's a lot harder to find.
But I accidentally almost snuck into your office that time when I was telling you about with the leasing, because the door was open, when you come off the elevator or whatever. And what I loved multiple things, but I loved that it looks like your cans. And you even have like a component of it, like the bright colors, the shiny, like it's just, the whole thing is, it all matches. And so I can see how like deep your culture must run, because when other people repeat your words back to you, when your like headquarters also matches what it looks like online, I don't think people realize how hard that is. And to do it in a way that's not a caricature. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Building a brand is really hard. It's easy to have a product. It's easy to have a business, but creating like a movement is really hard. And so honestly, with me transitioning out, that and what you're saying makes me sleep at night because of the incredible team, and they get it and they know the brand and they know culture and they're proud of Poppy. Right. So like that makes me like sleep better. But I will say, it just was fun. Like we were just like a fun place. We grew quick. We were like a family. We were a business, and brand first always. And I always say like create, like know who you are before you launch a brand. Like do the work, understand your consumer. What are you saying? Who are you speaking to? Who's your creative consumer? Who actually drinks Poppy? Like we did a ton of brand work and brand house and who's our muse and all of those different things we worked really hard on. So we knew who we were before we scaled. Whereas a lot of people scale, they have a business, and then you try to create a brand. It's a lot harder.
It's so hard.
And then to build a community once you're big, like it's just really hard. So we just kind of built community and brand from the beginning.
It's so good. I mean, I'm obsessed with this idea of, I was listening to Elon Musk the other day talk about showmanship is salesmanship. And I loved that line, because it is like everything is kind of show business. It's all like, we call it magic moments here, but how can we have every single person who interacts with us feel like there's some little moment of magic? Not everything is, right? But like some moment where they're like, this is unexpected. So I kind of think that customers can tell when you really care.
Yeah.
And if you compare like that caring, or if you compare the caring with creativity, it's rare, because it's a little hard to be creative and out there. That means you have to be a little weird, and that's a little scary being a little weird
and unhinged and cringy.
Yeah. And so I love that. I'm going to bother the team. We were just talking about that in the meeting today. I was like, we're having an event, and we have this event every year. It's one of the biggest events we do. And I think it's one of our best give back things we do.
Oh, cool.
But we were going to have this little pre-call. And then the way they were setting it up, I was like, oh, can you imagine going to a hotel you're excited to stay at? You get to the hotel and the lobby's like dirty. And it doesn't look like the hotel rooms that you saw online. Like, are you checking into that hotel? Or are you like, I'm out of here. I saw the preview. I don't want to go to the main thing. And so I was like, we have to be so careful in every single moment. If they get a little taster of yours and it's been out in the sun and your third-party logistics wasn't very good, and so now it tastes bad, like they're never going to buy Poppy again, right?
One chance, yeah.
Right. Fascinating.
Yeah, and it comes down to, we think of that in a lot of layers. So the first thing that gets the consumer's attention is our packaging in store. And we've spent so much time on this packaging. We have like a designer dedicated full-time to our packaging. And down to, what do you say on the front? Colors, the fruits. We're designing a new flavor right now. I was just on a call yesterday with it. And like, is it literal? Is it illustrative? Like, so like, that's our first line of defense of like the brand as a consumer. And to your point, if we throw an event for creators, it is so next level. But you know what? If we're actually getting together, I'm going next week, we're doing our national meeting. We're all getting together at Poppy. We create our employees like our creators. So they're going to show up to the hotel. They're going to have influencer bags in there. The events, we make them feel like they're at a Poppy event that we would have done for a creator. And like, that's part of our culture. It's like, why would we treat our employees differently? Yeah. And so we do kind of go all out with that stuff. And our marketing budgets are a lot higher than I think a lot of others on the brand building side and the culture side and the things, just to allow us to do stuff like that and really treat our employees as well.
Almost like, where did you learn that from? Like, why did you start doing that?
You know, we were just forced to really do things differently within COVID. And I don't know. I love people. I have like a good heart too with it. And you just got to like reward the people that are working so hard for you. I don't know how to explain it. And then I will say The brand piece of it just kind of like came as we went. We weren't afraid to listen to our consumer and change and, always work on it. A lot of people think like, well, I figured that out 3 years ago. Like we're doing like brand work every 3 months. And we're keeping the core of who we are. We do a lot of it internally. Stevie, who I talked earlier about with Rohan, secondhand person, she's incredible in brand, been working with brands. Like, so we bring in a lot of expertise. We have a great in-house quote unquote agency with like designers, art directors and stuff like that. So it's just an ongoing process. And I wouldn't even say it's like all me. It's like, it's just Poppy.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. I mean, I never thought brand mattered that much because I was in finance. So I'm like, does the math? The spreadsheet, where I was a spreadsheet girly. And so I didn't think it really mattered how you dressed or like what I, makeup or anything about brand except like make it look trustworthy. That would have probably been my main thing. And then when I started having some consumer businesses and then being on the internet, I realized, oh my God, I have this so wrong. And that when you're maybe a more junior entrepreneur, brand, it seems like, listen, I'm trying to pay rent. Brand, what are you talking about? Like, I'm trying to just make it happen. But then if you want to get to the big leagues, the difference between Poppy and some knockoff soda that somebody else is doing is your brand.
Correct.
That's where all the margin is, right?
It's literally why we were acquired.
Yeah.
Is our brand and our core audience of like, we are soda for the next generation. And we've built it on a brand and a lifestyle. Like people match their makeup and their nails and their outfits to Poppy cans. Yeah. And it's like, that is like unreal it's so funny. I'll go to conferences and I do all sorts of stuff. And one of my favorite things, and it might sound creepy at first, is I'll have older gentlemen come up to me and say, can I take a picture? And they'll say, it's for my daughter. My daughter is obsessed with you. I love Poppy. We love it in our house. And like, they're just as excited because their kids are doing something better. And it's like this movement, and it's just so cool to see this type of movement happening. But I mean, it took us years to get there. We just invested in brand from day one. Our marketing budgets were way higher than they should have been. And honestly, I will say, like, I have to give it to like Rohan and Stevie. Like, they're great brand builders, and like I learned a lot from them. But it's just the team, and it was just like, it was part of our culture. I don't know if that makes sense.
100%.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah. Now that I think about it, I have a dear girlfriend who has 4 little girls, and 2 of them are obsessed with Poppy. Now, because I remember hearing about it from them. They live in Dallas. That's probably also another part of it. But they have like a Poppy party or something. Is that a thing the little girls do?
Yeah.
And they have like different tasting when new ones come out?
Yes.
Whoa.
Poppy parties. I mean, we have sororities during Rush. They have a theme days, and one of them be like Poppy Rush Day. And they're like colored cans and orange, and like so much so that we started seeing that trend online, that this year we did customize sorority cans.
God, that's good.
With them. So we sent it, and then it had their sorority on it. So they were posting it, and it went absolutely viral. And like, that is a brand building initiative that has a higher ROI than doing a commercial, because it's just part of the movement. And a lot of people wouldn't see that trend. They wouldn't invest in the cans and buy the licensing and do all that. But we just see like brand first, culture first, creative first.
So smart. Yeah. Plus those ladies who do the dancing in front of God, I sound so old again, but like they do like at Mizzou or whatever. They're like all these hot young little sorority chicks out front.
So
and
much
they get millions of views.
That literally last year, we live here in Austin. I went to the Zeta House and I danced with them in front of the thing. Yeah, literally.
So
I was like, this would be great content. Once again, putting
Are you
myself
a
out
good
there.
dancer?
I'm a pretty good dancer.
Oh,
yeah.
That's I really wanted to see some Alex
major
Earl.
in college for like a year before I realized like, what am I doing? But no, but this year we sent Alex to the campus, and she
I think I did see. So that was your activation.
Yes.
With her.
Yeah.
That's wild. I swear I researched before this podcast, but you guys are we're
kind of everywhere.
I know. And then I didn't even realize it was you. That goes back to the 40% household.
Well,
thing.
we have, it's so funny. We have someone on our team, Sophia, her title's VP of Culture. And a lot of people might confuse that with HR. No, it's all things cultural.
Oh, cool.
So it's an entire vertical that we have within Poppy. So it goes the influencer, the social, the events, the partnerships, like all things culturally in culture report up into her. And so like, that's how serious we take it.
That is brilliant. And so you're kind of like always able to capture a trend or capture a movement and figure out how does Poppy become sort of a marquee portion of like what's happening right now. Are there other brands that do that well today?
You know, everyone always is like, who do you look up to? Who it's It's so hard because we've literally built the playbook.
Yeah. Like Duolingo had a moment, I feel like, where they were really doing that, but that's not so much now.
Right. Yeah. I would say Duolingo did a good job online and with their mascot. I've always thought like mascots are a little cringy. I'll be honest, like people dressing up in cans and stuff is like weird to me, but it worked for them.
Yeah.
It was
really
like a moment.
Plus, what else are you going to do with that? You have a beautiful can. You know, they're like, here's my app.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
tough.
totally. So no, this has been a really hard question. And I've like always, the only people that I'm like obsessed with that move at the speed of culture, that they're huge and it's $1 billion brand, because it's really easy for like younger brands to like do stuff, be more nimble, but Skims.
Oh yeah.
Somehow they figure out marketing initiatives where they'll get like the White Lotus cast in a campaign 3 months after it airs. And I'm just like, to move that quick with such like a cultural moment is pretty impressive.
Yeah. Those nipple bras were brilliant.
So good, right?
Yeah, you know what else I really respect about them? They do not give a fuck. They're like, do we win? We don't care what people think.
They're like business women and people underestimate. And that's why I think it goes back to like where you can be in fashion and dress different and do things and put yourself out there and be a badass like businesswoman. Like you can have it all nowadays and be a mom and not be a mom. And, right? Like you can kind of, I really think this female movement is like our time now. Is it harder? Yeah, it's harder. Yeah. But being an entrepreneur is hard.
Yeah. Yeah, all hard. So just choose it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of want to end on, it's such a good point that you said about the Kardashians though, because we've been thinking about that lately. We did these like little photo shoots, but we riffed on like iconic, remember Kim K when she was Man of the Year with the Cheetos bag?
So good.
And even that I was like, oh, it's just slightly off. She's kind of making fun of it, kind of not. It was so well executed. And then Taylor Swift when she had the cat around her shoulders.
So good.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah, everyone calls her the Catwoman.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's like, yeah, what, fucking Time Woman of the Year, whatever.
Yes.
And so we did these little things and they really hit. And I was nervous about doing them because I thought, well, that means we're not very serious. Like, are they going to take, I've got a Cheetos bag. Why do I have a cat on my shoulders? But you kind of got to get over it.
But it's almost going against the grain of like what you guys are doing, and it puts you out there and then you get eyes on it. And at the end of the day, you're winning when more people learn about what you're doing. Yeah. It's win. Like, as long as you're not doing something like don't get canceled, like, out there, but like that's not going to get you, that's just going to get eyes on you and it's going to be fun. And you know what? If you're having fun doing it, like do it. Yeah.
Plus, like I think a little inoculation against cancellation every year is fine. Yeah, I try to throw out a few things that might get me canceled every year because
just
then.
on the edge.
Yeah, just like right there at the end, little vaccine. So I want to end basically with this. So you're going on, you are now inspiring this next generation of entrepreneurs, which is so cool. What would you tell the 21-year-old that's listening that wants to build a business like you? What would you tell them today?
Get online and start telling your story now. Building community is going to be an army of people behind you. And everyone, like, almost think like an influencer. Be a creator. Be something that you don't know what your logo looks like. Get online and ask. You might have 2 people tell you, but hey, that's an audience of 2 giving you an opinion. You can take it and build on it or not. But I think a lot of people are just still scared. They see a lot of brands online. They're like, oh, it's so saturated. Everyone's doing that now. Well, it's probably because it's working. So I know that sounds really simple, but as a business, start now. Because it takes a really long time to build a core community, and you don't want customers, you want community.
So good. Especially in a world of AI where everything's easier to build, the moat is community. It's how many people want to buy your stuff because they want to associate with you.
And loyalty, right? And it's nowadays consumers are a little bit not as loyal. They're like try brands. It's a little bit hard, especially with Gen Z. You're seeing like they're not as loyal, or they'll just try something and it's flip-flopping, like all of that. But if you have a core community, you'll get that loyalty as well.
Okay. And where should everybody follow you, Allison?
Yeah. So obviously the Drink Poppy channels, you have to check it out. But then obviously on my own, it's Allison Ellsworth.
Are we going to see the dancing TikToks if we go to your TikTok?
You will.
We'll have to scroll up.
So much so, literally, like I'm so excited. They do Dancing with the Stars Austin, and they pick 5 women and 5 men. So I'm dancing this year in a big gala. It's for the Center for Child Protection, and you raise money. It's like the biggest gala. So I'm actually even doing dance lessons right now. Like I've not done it in 20 years, but it's for a good cause, and so I have time to do stuff like that now.
I will make sure I donate. That
So
sounds
check it
amazing.
out. Yes, thank you.
I can't wait to see you dancing there. You don't want to see, I've only ever danced in one video on the internet, total regrets. That's one of my rules, actually, as they know, no dancing on the internet, Codie. So now maybe I got to change it up.
Oh no, I'm going to get you on next season. I'm going to literally put your name in to be on. You're so screwed.
I should have never told you that. Let's give you all my weak points.
I'm here for it.
Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. I had so much fun.
If it feels like it's hard to you right now, like everything's more expensive, everybody's buying houses, but you can't, it's not working like you thought it was going to work, you feel behind compared to your peers, or you just don't understand what the future is going to hold because what you've built to date hasn't been enough, this episode is for you. I'm going to talk about why you're not crazy. It is really just hard out there. And I'm going to tell you all the stats so at least you can stand on solid ground knowing that you're going to have an uphill climb. And then I'm going to talk about what it's going to take for you to get to the next level of the game because it's not going to be anything like what people tell you today. This is me raw in this podcast. I'm going through a bunch of things right now, but I want to have a conversation with you because I think it's really important today. This is the Big Deal Podcast, and I'm Codie Sanchez. It is not just in your mind. You are not crazy. It is more expensive for you than it is for any other generation. Right now, credit card debt has hit a record $1.28 trillion. 49% of people cannot afford their rent or to buy a house today. Most of us are sitting here trying to figure it out. When they told us learn to code, that hasn't turned out well. Meanwhile, electricians are making like $100 an hour. And we went and got these grad degrees that have, on average, $76,000 in student debt. And oh, by the way, they're non-forgivable, meaning that debt will follow you around for the rest of your life. Not to mention, look at this video. And if you can't see it right now, this is what it is. It's how all the boomers told us that we were lazy little shits that bought too much avocado toast and had lattes. And it turns out they were full of shit because look at how much more expensive it is to buy a house for us than them. Back when boomers were buying houses, it was 4 years of salary on average. You know what it is today? 12 years. I don't know how much avocado toast you eat, but I don't think that's sufficient. And I was thinking about that today because we're sitting here this week and I'm not a geopolitical expert. I have no idea if we should have gone to war with this country or that country. What I do know is that we said, hey, government, we can't pay rent. We can't buy homes. Remember, 49% of us can't. And government said, best we can do, bomb Iran. What the fuck? It's actually crazy. If you were to go and look, I will pull this up for you because it's out of control. If you were to look, go to Grok on Twitter. That's Twitter's AI. And you were to ask it how much money we have spent in the Middle East on wars. The answer would be $8 trillion. That's 100x the annual federal spending on roads and bridges. So you're right. They, the collective they, pick whichever politician you want to, are using your tax dollars to do things that will never touch you in the US. Like, imagine how affordable groceries would be for the average person if we had spent things on, I don't know, maybe making it easier for us to farm. I saw this beautiful thing where as only Europeans do, really. But in Europe, they bought every household 6 chickens and they eviscerated the egg industry overnight. Like nobody needed the egg industry overnight because you were allowed to have these chickens and these coops. And it turns out you gave extras. So you gave them to your neighbors. And of course, this wouldn't work in super urban centers. But really, we can drop $120 million on a bomb, but we can't buy Americans some chicken. So I just want you guys to know it is actually really hard out there. And then I saw this other thing today that I want to read to you. So I was like, tell me if this hits you in the gut like it did for me. Employee goes, it looks like we made $1.3 billion this year. Boss goes, that's terrible news. Employee goes, that's a lot of money. Why is that terrible news? Boss goes, because last year we also made $1.3 billion. An employee goes, oh, right, I forgot. It's not enough to make an insane amount of money. We also have to make more than we used to. Boss goes, that's right. And simply paying our executives 7-figure salaries won't cut it. We need more. Employee goes, all right, I guess we could try making our product better to sell more. Boss goes, sounds expensive. Employee goes, how about we create some new products to sell? Boss goes, that's going to take forever. I need an immediate solution I can implement right now. Something that makes me look really good, takes basically zero effort. Employee goes, oh, please no. And boss goes, layoffs. And I just kind of think that that's what's happening in this world. So right now, if you feel like nobody's hiring you, it's probably not your CV's bad. It's that most people hire friends and relatives and people they know and colleagues, and they get jobs based on handshakes and looking each other in the eye. And if you're not actually out there talking to somebody direct, you're probably not going to make it. I was looking at some stories about people. For instance, there's a guy yesterday, MBA from Wharton, nice house in the suburbs. He was a big company employee his whole life, like a big, huge corporation. He was laid off 6 months ago and he kept getting to the final round and he's 54 years old. Like, that is rough. It's rough right now. And I'm not a pessimist. I don't think this is going to be this way forever. But I do think that we need to be honest about what's happening around us. That we have to normalize that if you want to win, you have to be almost a little bit delusional. That you have to do things most people won't. You have to believe you're the one. You have to go after it relentlessly. You have to focus so intently on the few things you want as opposed to spray like the system taught you to apply to 1,000 places, to use Indeed everywhere, to go to college and hope that somehow somebody picks you. No, it's so hard, but it's so true. Nobody will ever pick you. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to pick you. You have to introduce yourself. And if you don't introduce yourself, you're just not going to get ahead. And I was looking at this, today I did this post talking about how it's kind of not fair that we're spending all this money on other people in other countries. And right here, your tax dollars that you work so hard on, which, listen, it's not that I'm like, oh, fuck everybody who's not an American. That's not true. I'm just saying you didn't sign up to give away your life force, aka your time that you trade for a salary, to give it to everybody else when you're not doing so great. When you're doing good, when the average American, when 50% of Americans can afford rent and a house and afford groceries, awesome, let's help a brother out. In the meantime, why do we say take care of yourself? Why do we say you can't pour from an empty cup? Because you can't. If you guys aren't doing okay, then everything else in the world can't be getting more than you can. I think about this often. Like, how many once in a lifetime things do we got to go through? Now we have AI coming, which is something totally different. Now we have, a 50-year mortgage is basically what they've given us as a solution, when we all know that AI is going to disrupt a lot of jobs in the next 5 years. So it's kind of like, all right, 50 years, but I have no idea what's going to happen in the next 5. I don't know if you've noticed it, but I certainly have. I travel all over the country a lot right now. And I've sort of seen it in like grocery stores and airports and people walking down the street and government buildings. Everybody looks a little drained, right? Everybody looks a little worn out. And I think that is a warning sign of how hard it has been in many ways for many people. And I just want you to know, I think there's 3 answers to this only. And the first answer is that you can never quit. That once you figure out what you want out of life, the secret is just to keep going until you figure it out, because usually the thing you want is right on the other side of the time that you quit, gave up, stopped too early. And I know this sounds like hustle porn. Like, Cody, nobody can afford houses, just don't quit. I'm sorry, there's not a better answer than that. The first and best answer is prove that you are a person that doesn't quit, because those are the type of people that get hired, that get money from investors, that get more opportunity, that things get attracted to them. That's just it, period, end of story. Like, if you go into an interview and you don't say to them, I am the type of person that is so relentless that if you don't hire me for this job, I'm going to keep bothering you. Like, I am meant to come do this thing. Like, I need you to have an unreasonable amount of belief in yourself. Not that you can achieve anything. You don't even have to go that far, but that you're a dog on a bone. You're that pit bull that grabs and locks on and won't let go. And every single successful person I've ever met has that. They are just a dog on a bone, unapologetic for the fact that they will not quit. They will not let up. And that has to be you. And the second thing that I've realized is you have to lock in this year. You're going to have more distractions than you've ever had in your entire life. And you're going to have to figure out 1 or 2 things you can focus on per day, where at the end of that day, you feel like you made it. Almost every morning I call my president, Mark, and I have a shit ton of activities and he has a shit ton of activities. And I go, hey, okay, here's what I'm working on. But if I get these 2 things done today was a win. How about you? And he goes, yeah, these are my 2. We're like people with really big jobs, but we know every day there are the crucial 2. And we kind of kill anything that isn't that, because the world will try to take your attention. And it can seem rude. People come up to me sometimes. They're like, hey, can I talk to you about this? I'm like, not right now. No, actually. Or they'll say, hey, can I do this? Can I have your phone? And I go, no, not right now. I'm working on something else. It is that relentless. Because maybe in the past, when everything wasn't so crazy, you could just get by being a personality guy. You know, you could be like, that guy's nice. So it just like, he just nices his way through stuff. That could be enough, but I don't think it's enough anymore. You're going to actually have to kill distractions. You're going to actually have to set boundaries, and not like fake, with all due respect, I am also a millennial, not like fake millennial boundaries. Like, I don't work or answer my email after 5. Good fucking luck. Good luck. I mean, I love disconnecting. I'm like I tell pretty much everybody on my team always, unless we have something going on, I go, I work all weekend. You can ignore me. If I really need something from you, I'll text you. But like, you can ignore me in Slack on the weekends. Like, just ignore me. You can ignore me usually after work, but you should probably check it. And like, listen, I'm going to get raised for this on the internet, but it's just true. You're going to have to lock in, work incredibly hard, set boundaries, but important ones that allow you to focus on the things that work. You know what's crazy? According to the Federal Reserve, nearly 40% of Americans wouldn't be able to cover a $400 emergency expense without borrowing or selling something. So when you worry about why making it feels impossible in the US right now, you're not being dramatic. You're actually being honest. Wages haven't kept pace with costs. Attention's fractured. And the old playbook, work hard, get ahead, feels slower every year. So here's what's changed. Leverage now lives online. And the people building real momentum, they aren't chasing virality. They're building owned audiences. This is why this episode is sponsored by Beehive. Beehive is the all-in-one platform to publish, grow, and monetize your newsletter. It's built for operators, founders, people who already have ideas but are tired of renting their audience from platforms that can throttle reach overnight. With Beehive, you don't just send emails. You build an asset. You get built-in growth tools like referrals and recommendations. You get monetization from day one through their ad network, boosts, or paid subscriptions. You get analytics that actually tell you what's working all in one place. In a moment where stability feels fragile, ownership matters more than ever. If it feels harder to make it, stop trying to win somebody else's game. Build something you can control. Go to beehive.com and use code CODIE30 for 30% off your first 3 months. Because the new American dream isn't a job title. It is an audience. That's BEEHIIV. I think questions are increasingly more important than answers. Now we have the answer machine at our fingertips, right? AI in many ways. But it's like the right way you ask questions over time. And most people have maybe a 3-to-1 talk to listen ratio. My mom always said, God gave you 2 ears so you could listen more than you talk. I never listened to her about that, but that's what she said. But most people actually don't ask enough questions. And I think that is going to be the key today. What should I really work on? What matters? Where is my curiosity driving? Because do you think you're going to be able to win if you're like a kind of curious person? I mean, maybe this is the last one. Like, if I will take a confident executor with a sprinkle of delusion over almost anybody else. The entire game is almost all confidence. I love that little clip from Marty Supreme where she's like, what if you fail? And he says, I don't even allow that kind of thought to enter my reality.
Let me ask you something. Do you make money at this little table tennis thing?
Not yet.
How do you live?
Well, I live with the confidence if I believe in myself, the money will follow.
And what do you plan to do if this whole dream of yours doesn't work out?
That doesn't even enter my consciousness.
The idea of failing is not a part of my reality. I don't allow it to enter my consciousness. And I think that's kind of necessary. There's this cool thing. If you ever watch race car drivers before they go onto the track, they look crazy. We can show you a clip. If you watch the YouTube, you can see it here.
5th gear, 6th gear, 7th gear, into 8th, flat out through turn 1, flat out through turn 2, bringing the car to the left-hand side, braking hard at the curb on the left through turn 3.
So basically, the race car drivers usually have headphones on. They have their eyes closed, and you kind of see them twitching their shoulders and hands and making weird little hand movements, almost like tiny claws. And just go watch a bunch of them before they race. They all do it. Why? What are they doing? They're actually visualizing the track. So usually in their headphones, they have the RPMs of the car going up and down, the sounds of the actual track, and then their hands are moving the car and thinking about how the car is going to feel while they're hitting those turns and imagining where they're going. They are so confident in their ability to execute because they've visualized exactly where they're going to hit it. And I think that's really cool. And in life, we might be able to do the exact same thing. And so even though it's really hard, even though it's not you, you're not crazy, it is harder for you, at least monetarily, than it was for your parents. I want you to know that there are things we can do to push back on it. And the things we can do actually don't just require more hard work. They require a little bit more belief and a little bit more focus and then a little bit more relentlessness on top. But I've been thinking about you guys because I've made my bag, by now. I've made a lot of money and maybe I could lose it all. Who fucking knows? I spend a lot of it on our companies and I invest a ton and most of my assets are all set up in everything that we're already doing and all these people you can't even see out here and all these other companies we invest in. But I've kind of made it and I worry about you who hasn't yet maybe made it, or hasn't maybe made enough of it yet. And so I hope you feel that you're a really big deal to me. Everything that we do is for you. And I'll push back as often as possible on the big guys who say that it's fine for the many to sacrifice for the few. I mean, I saw a tweet that just about sent me apoplectic because my husband is a former Navy SEAL. We have lost friends in war. And I have seen what it is like to shake a hand and then not be able to shake a hand, hug that guy again when he comes back. We lost one of our very good friends from high school. Charlie Keating was a Navy SEAL who lost his life. And I won't say the other two because they're not as public, but they died actually in service to the country. And so I saw some idiot. There's been 3 deaths thus far from this war. And somebody said, I just want you to know, your sacrifices are worth it. And I just wanted to be who the fuck are you? Did you send your kids? Have you saddled up? Is your husband or wife on their way to go do that? Who are you in finance talking about their sacrifice is worth it for you? And so I feel the same way. It's not worth all of human progression when we have so many who are struggling here. And so tell me in the comments what you're struggling with, what we can help you with. Don't let them turn you into a victim. Believe that you're more capable because you probably are than you think. And keep going even though in many ways the odds are stacked against you. The last thing I'll end with is I truly believe, you guys, that if you use this time, these next 2 years, to buckle down and focus and build using the tools at hand, you can still unlock generational wealth for you and your families. It is here. It is possible. We see it happen every day in the boardroom. I saw it happen just the other day. One of our members, Jimmy, had a struggling business. He was barely scraping by. The business made a couple $100,000 a year. We helped him find one unlock in his business. That was $975,000 in additional revenue for him. Now him and his family are cruising. They've got a business that's doing millions of dollars a year. You have the opportunity to do the unlock. We see it every single day. But unfortunately, nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody is going to come out and reach their hand and introduce themselves. You're going to have to do that. Let me know what you guys think of this podcast, and I'll see you next week.